What's up YouTube, it's Latios TCG here and welcome to another deck profile on my channel. In this video we're gonna check out these guys, Zoroark GX and Golisopod GX, forming a deck together. It was a deck idea created by Reklev that actually got him first place once again in another internationals. Congratulations once again Tort if you're watching this. So in this video we're gonna go over the deck list, and this is actually a little bit different than the champions list. We actually changed 3 cards from the deck, but the deck functions in the exact same way. I'm gonna talk about every single card in the deck, so listen up folks. First of all, we're gonna run 4 Zoruas. Why are we gonna run those Zoruas from Shining Legends? Well, sometimes you can just have the attack ram. We only run DCE and grass energies in the deck, and thanks to this Shining Legends Zorua, we might be able to deal 20 damage with ram. If we also have a choice band, that's 50 damage, so sometimes Zorua comes out of nowhere and just takes a game. It can happen. If you're running the one from Breakthrough, you'll never get the chance to attack with it, so that's why we're running the one from Shining Legends. 4 of those. We're gonna lay them over here. Ta-da! Next up, of course, once we have Zoruas, you also want to have Zoroark GXs. In this particular case, we are gonna run 3 copies of Zoroark GX. I know that Torch lists run 4 Zoroark GXs, but in this version of the deck, we're gonna play 3 copies of Zoroark GX. I think it's sufficient enough because we also run 1 copy of the Zoroark stand-in. The reason he decided to run 4 copies is to have it always on turn 2. And in this situation, it has the ability trade. Once during our turn, we can discard a card from our hand and then draw 2 cards. For every Zoroark GX we have on the field, and we can do that every single turn. It's even better than auxiliary or anything for that matter, because we can just abuse these, get 3 of them out, and just draw turn after turn a lot of cards. With that, we don't want to run a lot of draw supporters. In a situation like this, you can just run 4 copies of Guzma and 3 copies of Acerola, and you can use those as your supporter for the turn, because your draw supporter will be Zoroark GX. In addition to that, it also has the amazing attack Righteous Beating, dealing 120 damage if your entire bench is full, so up to 120 damage, but as a bare minimum you always deal 80 damage, which is enough to knock out weak things, or maybe 2-shot things if you have a full bench. This is a really great thing. Zoroark GX cannot 1-shot at all. It's a 2-shot monster, but then again it also uses only 1 DCE for the attachment. Then we also have Zoroark, the one from Breakthrough, with the ability Stand-in. Stand-in is really great to dispose of things like Alolan Ninetales with the Luminous Barrier, because his GXs cannot attack it, so we'll have an alternate method here of attacking those type of Pokemon. Also, Zoroark has the attack Mind Jack, dealing 10 damage plus 30 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and in a format where everybody uses a first turn Bridget, this Zoroark will be hitting for huge numbers. Also against things like Volcanion, they usually want to have a full bench of Volcanion EX to use Steam Up. Well, if they bench their entire field and we have a choice band on Zoroark, we are able to one-shot these volcanic monsters. So also the stand-in ability makes it so once during our turn we can promote Zoroark if it's on the bench to the active position. This can help in certain situations because Zoroark only has 2 retreat costs with DCE, easy retreatable, because sometimes our Golisopod might get stuck in the active position, and that is just awkward because sometimes we want to hit for first impression but we are still stuck in the active position and we cannot do anything about it. That's where Zoroark comes in with stand-in, and you can get the condition once more. So Zoroarks are in the deck. Next up, we're gonna run 3 of these Wimpods. There's a lot of glare here, so I'm just gonna get rid of the Zoroarks for now. You already noted that down, right? 3 Zoroark GX and 1 of the stand-in Zoroarks. Now it's up to Wimpod. We're gonna run 3 Wimpods. If you have not heard about Wimpod before, Wimpod is an amazing Pokemon with the ability Wimpod. On the first turn, the first turn of the game, you actually have free retreat on this Wimpod. Otherwise, you have 3 retreat. So the 3 retreat is not good. We're not running Heavy Ball at all, but the free retreat on the first turn makes it sure that we can retreat into something more comfortable like a Zorua or maybe a Tapu Koko promo. Okay. We're also gonna run 2 Golisopod GXs. 2 Golisopod GX is just efficient as it is. Zoroark GX will be your main attacker most of the time, but sometimes if you're up against Lycanroc GX, Lapras GX, or things that are weak to grass like Zygarde, you can just get out your Golisopod and get 1-shots on those with that first impression. First impression only needs 1 energy in order to hit for 120 damage if Golisopod GX came from the bench that turn, which is not that hard to pull off. We have the stand-in Zoroark in the deck as well, and we have Guzma. We run run 4 Guzma, just to keep that in mind. Zoroark and Golispod working together like this is really good. You are also a 2-shot monster, but sometimes if you have a choice band equipped on Golisopod GX together with a grass and a DCE, you will be able to deal 180 damage as a maximum, and that will be able to KO Tapu Lele, which is in every deck, so you're definitely gonna grab 2 prize cards if you're Guzmaing Tapu Lele, or maybe an attacker like Volcanion EX, or other attackers like Zoroark GX that also take up 2 prize cards. So Golisopod, a really nice inclusion in this deck. I really like the split between 3 Wimpods and 2 Golisopod. A 3-2 line is efficient as it is. Sometimes your 2 Golisopods might get prized, but yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. Zoroark GX will be your main attacker most of the time, as mentioned before. Then we're gonna run 3 Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele is the best Pokemon in the entire format. It draws Pokemon, actually supporter types, from the deck straight into your hand. If you bench it, you can use the ability Wonder Tag, and then you can search your deck for a supporter of choice and put it in your hand. So great in the early games, getting your first turn Bridget. In the late game, getting that Guzma to get the last 2 prize cards. Getting your Acerola in time just to prevent a knockout. Getting a Mallow to get 2 cards from on the top of your deck and then draw them immediately with the Zoroark GX. Everything is possible thanks to Tapu Lele, so that's why we're running 3 copies. Okay. Next up are the tech supporters. I do think 1 Tapu Koko is a must in this deck. It makes sure that if you're using Guzma, you can actually go to the Pokemon you retreated to, because this has free retreat. If you use Guzma, promote this guy and then retreat to the attacker that was in the active position in the first place. This is a really great thing because Tapu Koko can also abuse the flying flip. If you attach a DCE, you can deal 20 damage to everything on the opponent's side of the field. And that really helps out with the numbers because Zoroark GX maxes out at 150 damage with a choice band, and thanks to that flying flip, maybe once, maybe twice, can get the 1-hit KO later. And if you're worried about, oh no, the opponent has 30 HP remaining, I cannot get the 1-hit KO, that's where our, well, the wrong one, our good friend Latios comes in play. I'm just gonna lay it where there's no glare. I'm gonna lay it right there. So Latios makes sure that you can just snipe those weak targets from the bench once they only have 30 HP remaining. The attack it has is Breakthrough, dealing 30 damage to the active and 30 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It is also a Psychic type, which means you are heading for weakness against Buzzwole, against Garbodor, Trubbish, Espeon GX, Espeon EX, and a lot more actually. So definitely a great inclusion here. The thing I like to do is using Zoroark GX, hit for 150 damage, and then when they least expect it, if they have not used Acerola, we come in with Latios and get those prize cards like that. Next is 1 copy of Mr. Mime. Just gonna slap it in the middle here. Mr. Mime protects our entire bench. Any damage that the opponent wants to dish out on our bench is now neglected, which means if they want to use Alolan Ninetales Ice Blade, well, you cannot hit our bench. Flying Flip, forget about it on the bench. Things like Ho-Oh GX that sometimes snipes out of nowhere, cannot even snipe at all. That's why I'm definitely running this inclusion here, Mr. Mime. Also, Buzzwole is a huge Pokemon that snipes around 30 damage to the active, 30 to the bench for a single energy. That's why we want to prevent that damage with the defensive Mr. Mime in the deck. You don't always need it, but it's nice to have it in the deck as an inclusion. And also, we are definitely weak to fighting. Buzzwole will eat us up. It's at least nice to save our Zoruas on the bench, that only the active goes away. So these are the Pokemon for the entire deck. I do think that Tord runs something differently. I think he run Mewtwo in the deck from Evolutions just to get those huge numbers on things that have a lot of energies like Gardevoir GX, or maybe a Buzzwole to get a 1-hit KO. Nevertheless, we are running Latios. I definitely love Latios. That deals off a lot of damage, and I like the sniping part of it. Next up, we're gonna go to the supporters. We're gonna run 3 copies of Professor Sycamore. This is the best draw supporter in the entire format, discarding the hand and drawing 7 fresh cards. Really great if you want to discard a lot of stuff that you don't want. I know that Tord Reklev's list only ran 2 Sycamore, but we're gonna add it up to 3 Sycamore because sometimes you get dunked with this deck, and that's something you want to prevent. You want to have 2 bench Pokemon at all times, so that's why we're running 3 Sycamore to prevent that. Next up, of course, is 4N. 4N is another one of those staples. Every deck nowadays will have 4N because it's just so great. It retakes games. If you're running behind in prize cards, let's say the opponent only needs to take 2 more prize cards and you still need to take 6, you're using this awesome N, bam, they only get reduced to 2 cards while you get a fresh hand of 6. such a great supporter. In the early games, it will give you a fresh hand of 6. In the late game, it'll end the opponent down, slow them down, and if they are in an ability lock or something, maybe they attach a flow zone to their Garbotoxin, and then you use N, they're locking themselves. So that's why I also include 4 copies of N. It's always great to reshuffle. Next up, another 4 off is 4 copies of Guzma. Guzma is an awesome supporter, cannot stress that enough. It gets you out of awkward situations when you're stuck in the active position. Think about Golisopod, think about Latios that you don't have DCE on just yet. So Guzma gets you out of those situations, but as a bonus, it targets Pokemon on the opponent's side of the bench. So let's say, oh, that looks a really nice Tapu Lele, I'm gonna kill it, bam, get Guzma it out and it's gone. Other things, oh, they're setting up a Pokemon with a lot of energies, they only need rare candy and something, well, not gonna happen, we're just gonna get rid of the basic Pokemon before it evolves, Guzma, and it's gone. So 4 copies of Guzma is a must, definitely since we only need 1 attachment to dish out 120 damage with Golisopod or Zoroark depending on your matchup. So 4 copies of Guzma will make sure that we hit those early KOs in the beginning of the game. Next up is 2 copies of Bridget. Bridget is also one of those staples nowadays. Everybody does it. Tapu Lele, look for the Bridget. That's why we're running 2 copies. We don't want it to be priced. We're running, actually I think Torch List ran 3 Bridget just to go overkill. We're running 2 copies of Bridget. Bridget will get the basic Pokemon from the deck straight onto the bench, which is great. Let's say we're getting out 2 Zoruas and a Wimpod. Next turn we evolve those and we're good. Zoroark GX will draw most of the cards that we want from the deck, while we already have a great setup, while dishing out more damage because we need a full bench to deal more damage. That's why 2 Bridget is nice. Also, next is another one of those supporters I love. It is Acerola. Acerola is a supporter that can pick a Pokemon from your side of the field that has damage on it straight into your hand with all cards attached, which means, oh, Zoroark GX is almost knocked out, well, forget about it, we put it straight into our hand, promote another Zorua, evolve it, attaching the DCE once again, and we're off. We can run around in circles like that, also gets rid of the awkward situation where, oh no, I want to have that first impression going on. Well, with Acerola, if your active has damage, put it in the active, bam, and then we have the first impression that the condition that it works, 120 damage. Acerola makes sure that your Pokemon do not get destroyed. If they get damaged and they are not one-hit KO'd, just put them back in the hand. It's just so great. We're running 3 copies of that just because it's so great. We only need 1 attachment to attack. It's just so great to include it. Next is Mallow. We're gonna lay it right here. Mallow, another one of those underrated supporters. Why is Mallow underrated? Well, it's not in a lot of decks, but in this deck, I think it deserves its place. Mallow lets you search your deck for any two cards and put them on the top of your deck. Does it ring a bell here? Well, the ability of trade of Zoroark can get those cards straight from the bat. Use Mallow, get your DCE and choice band that you want, use trade, you get him, bam, it's just awesome. Also, this version of Zoroark GX, Golisopod GX runs Puzzles of Time. You can get 2 puzzles straight on the top of your deck, draw them and get everything out of your discard that you want. That's how powerful Mallow is, and a copy is just efficient here because you don't always want to do that. Most of the time you will Guzma or Acerola if you already have your setup. Okay, those are the supporters of the deck. Hopefully you noted that down because they're gone now. Maybe rewind the video or something. And if you're enjoying the deck profiles like this, definitely let me know. I'm gonna make more of them in the future. Okay, next, item cards. Of course, 4 Ultra Ball, staple in every deck. I cannot stress enough how good Ultra Ball is. Ultra Ball can grab yourself a Tapu Lele, can grab yourself a supporter of choice. That's how good Ultra Ball is. If Ultra Ball is in your opening hand, you're already fine. You don't have to stress enough. And just use Ultra Ball, get your Tapu Lele, Bridget, bang, and you're off. Ultra Ball gets you also your Golisopods out, your Zoroark GXs, maybe your check card that Mr. Mime can grab himself from the deck straight onto the bench. Thanks to Ultra Ball. Actually, it goes to the hand, but you're gonna bench it anyhow. Then next, this is might be a weird thing to include here. We're running 4 Field Blower, just inspired by Reklev's list. 4 Field Blowers is great. Why we're running 4 Field Blowers? Because Garbotoxin is still around, shutting down all the abilities. I know this deck does not have bad matchups against late game ends, but if you don't have Field Blower and they have ability lock, well, you're in for some trouble here if you don't run into a Field Blower. That's why we're running 4 copies of Field Blower. We want to draw into it when we need to. We want to rely on trade every single turn in order to draw the supporter of choice, Acerola, Guzma, and it depends on the situation. Next up, another 4 off. It is A new inclusion, Puzzles of Time. Everybody forgot about Puzzles of Time, but it's definitely great in a deck like this. It also has, if you play one copy down, you can as you see it right here, if you play one of these, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. If let's say there's a Sycamore on the third above card of your deck, well, I want that Sycamore, just put it on the top of your deck and draw it with trade. Just so great. And if you lay 2 of them down, let's say you're in luck, you draw the lot with that Zoroark GX, bam, you get 2 puzzles, then you can get any 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. Wow, talk about recovery. DCEs are gone, no problem. Zoroark stand-in is gone, no problem. We can get anything back that we want with Puzzles of Time. So definitely included, because that way is the best way to play Zoroark GX with Golisopod. Next, 2 choice bands. 2 choice band I think is efficient. We are a 2-shotting deck. Sometimes we get the 1-hit KO. I mentioned that before with Golisopod GX. If we got a Grass and a DCE onto our Golisopod GX together with choice band with the Crossing Cut GX, we might get a 1-hit KO, but it will not happen every single time. So 2 copies of choice band is enough. If they are discarded late game, get them back with Puzzles of Time. Next is Enhanced Hammer. Enhanced Hammer, 2 copies. Why is 2 copies the best way? Well, a lot of special energies are being played in the format. Think about Double Colorless Energy, definitely. Rainbow Energy, Strong Energy, Splash Energy. I could keep going, but a lot of decks play a lot of special energies. Rainbow Energies is also another inclusion here. So you can get rid of those special energies, slow them down, while you just demolish them with 2-hit knockouts. 2 copies of Choice Band, or actually Enhanced Hammer. Then 1 copy of the Rescue Stretcher. Torch List ran 0 Rescue Stretchers, but I think 1 Rescue Stretcher helps you out in certain situations where, oh no, all my Zoroark GXs are in the discard thanks to an unfortunate Sycamore early game. You can put 3 Pokemon back in the deck. I like that recovery method here. I know Puzzles of Time can get 2 Pokemon back, but that is conditional only. Rescue Stretcher gives you the variety here to get everything from the discard. 3 Pokemon or 1 Pokemon in the hand. 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher helps you out a ton. And now we're gonna go to the energies. We're gonna run 3 Grass Energies. I think Grass Energies, 3 of them is enough. We only have 2 Golisopods and they only need 1 energy each. So I think 3 Grass Energies is enough. You might add it up to 4 if you find you're running into low energy counts sometimes. Well, the main thing is you want to draw is the 4 DCEs, which I'm gonna lay right here. So the 4 DCEs are a must in a deck like this because the DCE makes sure that we can use Righteous Beating as early as turn 2, and then we can just draw the supporter of choice, hit for 2-hit knockouts, Acerola, do it all over again, Guzma getting prizes. This deck is just so good. There's no way you haven't heard about this deck. If you have not heard about it, well, welcome you to one of the best decks in the format. Toward Reklev, again, congratulations to you for winning the entire internationals once more. You won it again. This is just so amazing. This deck will need some testing. I think you need a lot of testing with this deck because sometimes you abuse things. You're using Puzzle of Time for the things you don't want, and also your attachments might be wrong. Acerola should be played correctly. So this is kind of I could say a 60% deck that you need some training on. Definitely need training here. Zoroark GX runs on itself, just draw some cards, but you always have to play the right supporter at the right time. Anyhow, this was another deck profile on my channel. If you enjoyed it, definitely, like the video. I always appreciate that. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comment section what you think about this deck. Should you, have any changes for the deck, put it in the comment section below. Let me know how you fare with the deck. Have you tested it already? How does it fare against the most popular decks in the format right now? And that's it, I believe. I don't think I forgot something. Anyway, if you want, you can enter my raffle/giveaway on my channel. It's still open. There you can just go to the video and win some TCG online code cards. Maybe pulling some Zoroark GXs because Shining Legend packs are getting given away. Also Burning Shadows. Get yourself that Golisopod or something. And that's it for another episode. Actually, not an episode. This is a deck profile, so I'm gonna make more weekly content nowadays, which is awesome for you guys. The next deck I'm probably gonna feature is a Boswell variant with Lycanroc, so stick around, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for watching. Peace out.